trophied up. Yeah. Hey, do your trophied up. Do your dance when the G's up. Spaced out, got me geeked up. 10 toes on the west, can I beat us? You cannot. Shining every time they meet us. Rack them up since 96. Been number one in LA, some slight, that's the gist.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Talkin Galaxy podcast. And today we got a very special edition. We got a guest. Welcome, Eli.
Yo, what's up, Peyton? It's good to see you. And, I've been in this chat many times. I thought I might as well show up and show my face for once.
Yes, sir. We're pleased to have you here. And along with Eli, we have Galaxy Runs LA. What's up, buddy?
What's up?
All right, let's get right into it here. Let's start off with the obvious. The Galaxy not performing. Let's just start. So the Galaxy went to New York without all three designated players and fall 7-0 to the New York Red Bulls in an MLS Cup rematch. So it is not great for the Galaxy standpoint to be dropping this many goals. Worst loss in club history. We have a stat on that. But yeah, what'd you make of this, Eli?
I mean, first of all, I guess shout out to the Red Bulls for getting their epic revenge on us. They wanted it. They clearly wanted it. And out of the gate, they played some of the best soccer I've seen them play. And that was a match that they needed to win. So first of all, congrats to them for that. They've been struggling a little bit. And now, they have whatever they need. But for us, I hate to be so down on ourselves. And, obviously we all are. But, once a few went in, it just the floodgates opened, and it felt like it just had to be a match like this. And I almost feel like we needed this loss right now, because hey, we've been losing some of these games, 4-2 the other week. We've lost a couple very close ones, but I think the real adjustments come when you get smacked like this. So that's what I'm looking forward to, this week with that.
Absolutely, couldn't have said it better. Galaxy Runs LA.
It was tough. I mean, that performance just wasn't it from all the players. I don't know if it's going to start looking. There we go. I don't know if it was the tactics, or I don't know if it was the players' desire, but something was off. And because after those first two goals went in, you're like, okay, this is going to be a rout, and it ended up being a rout. So, I mean, I don't know if we can blame it on tactics. I think we'll go over this a little bit later, but I don't think we have the personnel to play a 5-back, and that's what went wrong. And we suffered. It was the worst loss in history.
Yeah. Interesting you bring that up. Let's just let's go into the stat here. Let's go to this first. Is that the Galaxy has gone through its largest loss in club history, 7 goals scored by New York Red Bulls, and we scored none. The next closest loss was 5-0 to Seattle. So it wasn't a 1 difference. This was the worst loss by 2 goals. So the Galaxy, they're in some real, hot water right now. I think nobody in the front office should feel too secure with their job stability right now. But let's go over the lineup here. John McCarthy in net. You had John Nelson at left back, Amiro Garces at center back with Maya Yoshida, Miki Amane at right back, obviously had the own goal. Julian Ade was at left mid, which was an interesting switch by Greg Vanny. Edwin Cerrillo in the midfield, along with Diego Fagundes, Marco Royce, and you had up top Miguel Berry and Christian Ramirez. So it was a rotated lineup by the Galaxy, given all 3 designated players. This is not our first choice lineup, but it kind of made the best of what we had. But like you guys talked about, once the Red Bulls got off to that really fast start, it almost felt like MLS Cup 2.0 when the first 2 goals came in, because very similar to the MLS Cup, the Galaxy scored 2 very early. And you're like, okay, I mean, we've been in this position before. You expected a little fight out of the team. Is it concerning to you that this team just gave up? Is it concerning? Do you think that's a management issue?
I do, actually, because you could tell very quickly the body language was off. Even, Marco Royce, who I thought had one of his better matches, which, sometimes his better matches are not near enough. Like, you could see him getting frustrated off ball when we lose possession and stuff. And that's the type of thing that, is toxic, and that flows throughout that's poisonous to the whole team. And that's something that I noticed throughout that match, and it just felt like we had no desire to get back into the match whatsoever.
Yeah. Galaxy
Yeah,
runs LA.
kind of piggy off Eli. I feel like the players weren't playing for the team. They weren't playing for the badge. I was watching Landon Donovan's podcast, and he was saying like this could easily be a problem where like, oh, maybe a blip where a team loses by a bunch, but this is after a 11-game losing streak or winless streak, and we make our 12th a 7-0 loss. So this could be like an actual management problem, and that's what Landon Donovan was pointing at. So if he's pointing out that, I think all the fans should as well.
Yeah, I tend to have more faith in Greg Vanney than most of this fan base has from what I've seen. But it's certainly concerning when heads just completely drop and the team rolls over. You want to have faith in your coach, you want to have faith in your team, and you want to fight. You want to fight for the badge, and you don't want to give up. When you just completely fold like that, it almost brings the concern of, do these players still trust Greg Vanney? Do they still trust the process? Do they still trust that things will turn around, that we'll start getting wins if you just fold? I mean, the Miki Amane own goal was painful at the end. I don't know what he was doing, quite frankly. I mean, it was 6-0, so it wasn't going to change anything. One of the most confusing own goals I've seen, and this is back-to-back weeks with own goals. So just not good looks from the Galaxy, and we are officially off to the single worst start in Major League Soccer history. CF Montreal, Jalen Neal's club, got their first win last weekend, and yeah, what needs to change for the Galaxy, in your opinion? Is there any saving this season?
That's the issue to me, because I don't think there's anything we can do with our allocation money situation. I don't even know if the players that we want to trade have any value to teams. We want to get off that Diego Fagundes contract most likely, but who is actually going to take that on? A team has to actually pay for that contract. So I'm worried that we just kind of have to play this one out. And as I mentioned in a video yesterday, and we'll probably talk about it more with some of the things coming up, it's, we have to just take certain small victories this season, like winning El Trafico. Maybe we go all out for Leagues Cup, even if they're, even if we try to go all out, we'll still be terrible.
Yeah.
But to me, this season's already a wash, and I don't see how, we could actually move around this situation currently.
I think we throw away the season if we're still winless after these 3 Cali Clasico, El Trafico, and whatever San Diego rivalry game is. Like, if we're still winless after that, I mean, that's what 16 winless, and
Yeah.
that's a pretty high possibility looking at this team now, and we're already a quarter of their way through. No, a third of the way through. So that's even more. We're getting close to the halfway mark without a win. So if we get that far in without a win, I think we should throw all our chips in the next season bucket and just kind of pray.
Yeah, it was interesting watching Will Kuntz talk on the Cooligans podcast. I watched some of that. I haven't watched all of it, but from what I saw, he kind of talked about the idea of this start isn't too surprising to people in the front office. At least it's not as surprising as people from the outside, because whenever I talk to people about the Galaxy start to the season, they're like, whoa, like what happened? You guys won it all last year. Like, how did you go from winning it all to being the worst team in the league? Like, it's that blows people's minds. And Will Kuntz, I think, understands that. Like, he talked about the idea of, like, he was joking, but like selling his soul for MLS Cup last year. You signed Marco Reus to a 3-year deal. That is not a very friendly contract. And why you did it is because Charlotte wanted to offer more money for less years. And the Galaxy, to counteract that, were like, okay, we'll offer you less money, but over like a prorated amount of years. But they knew that Marco Reus in 2026, with his injury history, that wasn't going to look like a good contract. In 2025, it doesn't look like a good contract. So I think Will Kuntz knew that. And I mean, you can't sugarcoat it, though. I don't think any of us would have expected the Galaxy to have 0 wins in 12 games. So that is a bit surprising to me. I agree with you, Galaxy runs LA. I think if we're winless after all of the rivalry games, I don't see Greg Vanney staying with the club. But that's my real question. The concern I have is if you do away with Greg Vanney, what alternatives are you looking at? I know Robbie Keane's a name, but I would not replace Greg Vanney with Robbie Keane. I don't think that's an upgrade. He's not proven at the MLS level yet.
Yeah, I mean, that's more of like a for the badge type pick, and I think that's why people really, really like Robbie Keane as a choice. I mean, the best coach available is Jim Curtin, but no one's, I just don't think any coach can come in and fix this situation this season. And that's why I'm not personally on the Greg Vanney out train, because I really just don't see a way for anyone to fix what's going on here. And I think this is more of a roster building situation rather than a coaching situation and a tactic situation. And you mentioned, heading into the season, yeah, I didn't think we were going to be like as great as we were last year, but I knew there would be some drop off, just not this much drop off. But I mean, on paper, we had a pretty decent winter window. We brought in Christian Ramirez, who has been the only good player. And then, Sanabria, he's been injured and stuff, but this is a guy that Kuntz was like, I need to have this guy so badly. Like, I really like this guy. So like on paper heading into the year, it didn't feel like we were going to be like this. And then unfortunately, things happen. Yeah, for me, I just don't think there is anyone who could come in and actually make a real change this season.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the squad is not a 12 winless squad. This team has a lot of talent. Like I said, Sanabria, he come in, he had high potential, and everyone thought of him very highly. Hasn't hit the ground running. You could say that's on the front office. You can say that's on the player. He had different opinions. Also, you bring Chris Ramirez. He's off to a pretty good start, scoring a bunch of goals. And you have the likes of Elijah Winder, who hasn't hit the ground running, but he wasn't expected to at the start. So you have all these players, all new, coming in these vital positions. So you're gonna have to give some time. Obviously, some aren't performing to the way that you kind of expect them to, but I feel like this team's got talent and we're just underperforming at the moment. So I think first of all, we need our DPs to perform because that's where the most vital part of the team is. If we don't have our two wingers scoring goals and creating plays for our forwards to score, I mean, where are we going to get our goals? And we know this team's a defensive liability, so we're going to concede goals no matter what. So you need our forwards to pitch in and actually do some work.
Yeah, I think you guys bring up some very important points. Right now, Jim Curtin, I really like Jim Curtin, but would he fix this Galaxy team immediately? No. Would firing Greg Vanney with some interim coach sticking out the rest of the season, it would probably boost the Galaxy one game. Maybe we would get one win with the head coaching boost, but realistically, over the course of the year, this isn't savable. This isn't a savable team that a manager is going to come in and change everything because there's more to it than just Greg Vanney. And you can certainly criticize him, but I think if you criticize him, it's also fair to criticize Will Kuntz. You're looking at somebody who oversaw the worst transfer window in Galaxy history. I understand that salary cap plays a huge part in that. Ideally, you keep a guy like Mark Delgado. Ideally, you're able to pay someone like Dejan Joveljic. But when Kansas City comes knocking at the door with 4 times his current salary, like Will Kuntz said on the podcast, there's not much you can do. There's not much you can do that to keep a player. Dejan has a baby on the way. Living in Kansas City is incredibly cheaper than living in LA. So there's a lot of factors that just make it very hard to retain a championship winning side. So maybe some of that needs to be placed on MLS salary cap rules. They need to loosen it up for sure. But I think Jim Curtin is somebody where if you want to launch into a long-term rebuild, that's fine. I think he'd be perfect for that. But in the short term, I don't think anything changes. I don't think anything changes. But Will Kuntz, Sanabria hasn't hit. Sanabria is not starting games. 12 games in. It'll be interesting to see if he starts tomorrow without Edwin Cerrillo, who's suspended for yellow card accumulation. Maybe he gets the start. But the point being, if you're the Galaxy and you have 0 wins through 12 games, please tell me why you're not playing some of your young guys and you're just sticking to the same players. Eli, you want to tap in?
Well, no, that's something that I'm really passionate about right now because I feel like I've already mentioned how I feel like this season is a wash, so might as well give guys, these young and hungry guys, chances to prove themselves because the guys who will actually play for the badge are those guys that need to prove themselves and to earn their spots. A lot of these guys that we do have in the starting lineup currently, they've been there, they've done that. They don't have anything to prove, and now it's just it is a little uncomfortable to see the body language and motivation on the field, but you bring in more. I want to see more Harbor Miller. I want to see more Ruben Ramos. I want to call up Dylan Vanny for El Trafico. Screw it. After that free kick last week, I want to see players like that come in and, earn their stripes. And, Jim Curtin would actually be the right coach to bring in if that's how we want to go, because he's notorious for, bringing up young players through Philly and stuff like that. And I've always wanted the Galaxy Academy to be great again. I hate to say like MAGA, but I've always wanted this Galaxy Academy to produce more, because we have the talent there. You're seeing it in these youth tournaments. VCFC, I'm pretty sure is doing pretty well right now. And I want to see more of those guys, get in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And on so Will Kuntz has more appearances on podcasts than Ricky Puig has all season. He's been on 2 podcasts in like 2 days that they put out. And in a podcast, he's kind of talking about how since Ricky Puig is out for the whole season, you either throw out your whole like long-term plan of building around Ricky just for one season, or you throw out your whole plan just for one season. So I think him keeping Ricky on the off the season injury list, season-ending injury list, I think is just a way to prove that Vanny's not going anywhere. Vanny's a part of this long-term project, and the only reason I see him going out is if the fans go crazy after losing a whole ton of games. But I don't think Vanny's going anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, certainly. And when the results pile up, and when you keep going winless for longer and longer, it's hard to justify a contract extension. But personally, if I'm in the Galaxy front office right now, I know people in the chat might not like this, but I think you give them a 1-year prove-it deal. I think people saying that you need to launch this team into a rebuild are wrong, honestly. I understand frustrations, and I think it's fair to say that this team's been underperforming, but I think next year they have a lot of flexibility to compete again. We know how quickly you can go up and down in MLS. We went from a bottom 3 team in the league in 2023 to MLS Cup in 2024 to missing playoffs in 2025, more than likely. 2026, you can very much be at the top again. You could very much compete. That's how fast things can change in MLS. You offload Fagundes' salary, and you better hope he creates more value for himself before the All-Star break or something to make sure that there's value within the league. If not, you might have to do something like you did with Brugman and take on somebody else's salary and then cut the salary after, or just completely cut Diego Fagundes. But that would be a huge sum of money to take up. Marco Royce, maybe Royce retires after this year. Maybe you just completely buy out Royce, but that's $3.1 million in allocation money waiting to be made. Ricky Puig is going to be back. And you talked about it, Galaxy Runs LA. It's important to play Ricky this year. If you want to compete in 2026, you need Ricky to get touches on the ball. Even if it's a meaningless loss in a 4-0 game in Dallas in October, it doesn't matter. You need Ricky to play. You need Ricky to get minutes, get touches, and more importantly, build confidence. I think without Ricky building confidence, you look into 2026, and he's going to have to use preseason and the start of the regular season to build confidence. That's going to take time. So I don't think they should shut him down, and I don't think it's a good long-term option either. Because what are you going to do? Sign a DP for a year on loan? Like, I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, that's an LAFC type thing to do, because they got that Turkish dude, I forgot his name, that they brought him in. I kind of agree with you on the sense where there's no point in, putting him on the list and getting someone new for now, because we're not really going to compete this year. That's why I say, like, play the kids. Why not? We have nothing to lose. For me, this summer window, I want us to try to find our next Edwin Cerrillo, a guy who was kind of a distressed asset on FC Dallas. He wasn't getting the minutes that maybe he wanted, but we always knew there was potential there. And then he comes to the Galaxy, and he was one of our biggest starters last year and one of the biggest pieces to helping us get to MLS Cup. So that, I want to find someone like that, a youngish player in MLS that just needs more to prove. Someone in the chat and a couple people have said Nascimento. I want to see him start more, play more minutes. We could roast, how bad he's been, but I find it very hard to critique a young striker who's only getting 5-6 minutes a match. I mean, you can't get into any sort of rhythm there. I would love him to start maybe tomorrow if we're going to, go all out for El Trafico. but, just kind of take a Colorado Rapids approach to this summer window and find players who are kind of not getting the respect they deserve at their club. Jack McGlynn would be ideal, but I don't think Houston's going to give him because of how good he's been for them. But, players kind of like that.
Yeah.
I mean, this season is very close to being over for us, so I'm open to everything. I agree. Nascimento needs more minutes. He's a young player and he's got a lot more potential than Alexo and Miguel Berry. Miguel Berry most likely, I'd say, is not going to be a key player if even on the team next season. So why play him if we're all playing for the future? Play Nascimento. He might be a part of our future. He has more of a future with us than Miguel Berry and even Chris Ramirez. Chris Ramirez is a not a long-term piece, let's just say. Nascimento could be. So I think Nascimento needs more minutes. I think the likes of Harbor Miller, he should get more minutes. I think Isaiah Parente has got a future with the squad. He should get more minutes. Yeah, I mean, there's so many players underperforming. So those players that think, oh, I can slack off, play the young players, let them play, take their positions, and then that just proves that you can't just sit around and be lazy. You got to actually perform to earn your spot.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting to see the body language after the game. We got this video clip here. Let me rewind this. But after the game, Greg Vanney did not waste any time to address the players. Immediately on the field after the game, if you stayed tuned after the game, you saw that there was a conversation being had. The body language was very down. These players were very, distressed. And overall, I mean, it's just not what you want to see from these players. I mean, they look shattered. I think it was something that needed to be addressed on the field immediately after the game, because how else can you explain a 7-0 loss to the Red Bulls? But yeah, kind of going back into that Greg Vanney thing. If you're Will Kuntz right now, do you pull the trigger on Greg Vanney? Okay, I'm pretty much in the same boat. I'm pretty much in the same boat, but I just think you just give him a prove it deal. Look at everything that's adding up in 2026. I think Peck has played himself into another year at this club, by the way. Yeah. I just, not to diss on Peck. I love Peck, but I have Peck on the back of this jersey. But he hasn't been performing. And when your designated players aren't performing and they're injured right now, it just makes everything so much more difficult. But let's talk about a little fan statement ahead of El Trafico. This is something that 3 of the Galaxy accounts, including myself and Galaxy Runs LA, in the community posted. So basically, I'll just read it here. We're not backing down. May 18th isn't just another game. Our city, our crest, our stadium. We show up when it counts, not when it's easy. This isn't about a front office. This is about us, the badge, the history. We represent when it matters, because if they don't, if we won't, they will. And we're not letting them turn our house into their playground. We will be there. So you guys will be at this game, correct?
I will be there no matter what.
What do you have to say to fans right now and to try to convince them to go to this game? Because I've seen people be like, protest, but I feel like you can't protest every time things are going bad. You could demand more, you could chant that we deserve better, but what do you say to convince fans to show up to this game and not be outnumbered?
Yeah, I mean, this is a completely different situation than in 2023 when the fans were protesting and we wanted El Trafico to be embarrassing. That was the goal in 2023. This is a completely different situation. Yes, we're worse than we were then, but there's not someone that we're trying to out this time around. And, for me, yes, El Trafico is one on the pitch, but it's also one off the pitch as well and in the stands. And, a lot of people around LA are going to be tuning into this match just because they've heard about it. And they're going to, maybe pick a team between Galaxy and LAFC. And it's important that, the Galaxy fans and supporters show who they really are, how we represent ourselves and our club. And I think it could be a very inspiring moment, not just for us and the city, but for the players, in this exact moment to show up louder than ever, as big as we can, even despite how poor we are. It shows how we represent and how, we are that loyalty over trends, statement. So that's why I think this is such an important match for the fans And obviously it is for the players, but if we're going to at least if we're going to do something for the players and at least try to be the 12th man, this is the match to do it for. And who knows, maybe we can get the result that we want. We've been good in El Trafico when we've been terrible in the past. I think of 2020 with the Ethan Zubak game. But for me, this is probably the last opportunity for us to actually turn the season around. But if not, and we could get a good result in this, and results don't follow after, at least we could find some positives in the season to look back on. And that's why I feel like we have to just go all out for El Trafico, Cali Classico, so that the season is a complete wash. Because at the end of the day, every Galaxy fans and LAFC fans will remember who won El Trafico each year, and this is our chance to start on the right foot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a real fan, you gotta show up for this game. These rivalry games are the big ones. I remember I went to Barca Atletico Madrid in Madrid, and that was electric. We need to make that same atmosphere. We need to be there for our team when they need us, because right now they need us. Usually we need them to be good. They need us to be good. They need the 12th man, and we know LFC always shows up. They're gonna be rambunctious. They're gonna be loud. So we gotta be louder. And yeah, I can't say anything else. We should need to be there. And going off what Eli said, this rivalry, it's not who the better team is. It's who puts in more effort, who wants it more. We've seen Rose Bowl 2 years ago. We were we were definitely the worst team between the two. We had Kevin Leaderdown playing center back, and he's a right back. And those times aren't the nicest, but just knowing that we got that win during that tough time, we have that edge over them. So just getting these wins, it's such a morale booster. And who knows, if we do win this game, that could turn around the whole season. We can go on a run.
Yeah, no, I think you guys are absolutely right. My thing is, like Eli said, we don't have a person we're trying to out here. Like anybody saying to protest the team, all that's going to do is bury this team in the dirt. We're going to get outnumbered by LAFC fans. And, if it turns into their home game, it's going to be all over the media. And you're not proving a point because you're not getting anybody out. You're just embarrassing ourselves. You're embarrassing the club. I understand if you don't want to spend money on a team that's not performing, because that is everyone's own money, and I understand. But I'm saying if the reasoning is, you want this to be embarrassing for the Galaxy, I would strongly urge you to still show up to this game and support the team, because like you said, Eli, this is the last chance. Like you guys are talking about, this might be the last chance to turn anything around in this year, because if we don't get very good victories out of these rivalry games coming up, it can get real ugly. This season can start to look like not just the worst in Galaxy history, one of the worst in Major League Soccer history. And on top of that, you're losing the moral victories. You can't even, because 2023, like you guys talked about, you had the Rose Bowl game. You were like, oh yeah, that season was terrible, but in front of the biggest crowd in MLS history, we turned it up. The fans showed out. And it can't be any different here. I will be at this game. Eli will be at this game. Galaxy Runs LA will be at this game. Everybody's going to show up. This needs to be a packed house of Galaxy fans. And, the statement is just, let's be loud. Let's be loud. We can't let them be louder than us. We can't, we can't have this be embarrassing. And even if the team doesn't show up on the field, we still have to support this club. And, I don't think... I know some people are saying that, protest to get Vanny out. Like, that's not a consensus thing like Chris Klein, where he's ruined the club for 10 years. Greg Vanny's 6 months off of an MLS Cup victory. He's not some bad guy. So, yeah, he's not like, I know a lot of people in the fan base aren't happy with him, but it's not like he's Chris Klein levels of destroying the club for a decade. So.
And one thing I wanted to add, something that Peyton mentioned, I understand if you don't want to pay to watch a losing club. One thing I will say, if you're a season ticket member or already have tickets to the match, if you don't want to go, please make sure if you're selling it to sell it to a Galaxy fan, because I know a lot of LAFC fans are going to be trying to leech and get cheap deals to get into the stadium, regardless of where they're sitting. Please do not let them take it over. If you're not going to use your seats, it's almost better to have an empty seat than to have one of them there. But if you don't want to go and you want to sell your tickets, there's people on Twitter and people online who help find Galaxy fans, tickets. So, I would recommend going through that.
Yeah.
We can always hit up one of our pages, and I think there's some Discords that sell tickets. So if you're looking for a ticket, try to look at our pages. I know sometimes I get people DMing me, so I can post something on my story saying like, if you need tickets, I can help you out. I'm not sure if people have done that over on your page, but definitely keep an eye out for our pages. And worst case scenario, I mean, just leave those seats open because we just can't have more black than white.
Yeah.
Jerseys.
Okay. um, that's getting clipped. I think it's very important that you bring up the fact that either one of our pages are very much available to anybody looking to offload their tickets. If you're a season ticket member and you just can't make the game, that's okay. I've done flash giveaways before matches. I've done different things to make sure that people can get tickets and it goes to Galaxy fans. I ensure they're Galaxy fans and not fans of the opposition. We have to make sure that the Galaxy fans show up for this match. So it's very important. It's very important that we show up for this game. So I like this statement by the content creators, and we'll open this segment up now to chats. So if you have questions for Eli, Galaxy Runs LA, or myself, or all of us, just shoot them in the chat. So just send them in. But I do have a question for you guys right now. So we all are in consensus that we would not fire Greg Vanney right now. But if we're winless after the San Jose game, all 3 games in the rivalry matches, let's say we lose, do you change your opinion on that, or you just have to wait and see?
Probably, but I've always been one. I just hate the idea of firing someone mid-season unless it's absolutely necessary, and I guess it would be absolutely necessary then. But I kind of love the whole off-season rebuild type vibe. That's kind of how I like to look at things. But it's inexcusable to lose all your California matches. When we are the most historic club, we are the club that supposedly runs California, runs the league. It is kind of tough.
I think personally, I don't think we should get rid of Vanny all season, even if we had the worst season in LA Galaxy history, because this season is going to be tough no matter what. Will Kuhn said it that he knew the season was going to be rough. The front office knew, and I think they knew that going into contract negotiations with Vanny. So I think he has a little bit of leeway there in a sense. And I know if we lose all these 3 games, people are going to be coming for Kuhn's head and Vanny's head. So I could see that happening, even if Kuhn somehow gets pressured into sacking Vanny through the fans protesting or something, which I don't think should happen, but you never know.
Yeah. That's difficult for me because we played 12 games now. Tomorrow's going to be 13. And after that, we're going to be at 16 games. 16 games. And if we're still without a win, I guess I would understand if the front office pulls the trigger on Greg Vanney and company and coaching staff. I would understand that. But once again, it's not going to change anything. So you're going to have to go into season. Interesting thing is maybe you're a selling team. Maybe you're a selling team in the summer window. You see that in other sports where if you're out of the playoffs in like the NBA or something, and you have like an older player, you're offloading them at any cost to make sure that and it might be in the player's interest too to be on a more contending team, and it just works out better that way. So we got a question in the chat. Does John McCarthy start tomorrow or Sunday? Do you think he lost his starting spot, Eli?
I don't think he lost his starting spot because no one's done better than him. But also I mean, yes, the Orlando match was probably on him, but you can't blame every match that we've had on him. Yes, conceding 7 goals is bad, but I put a lot of that blame on the back line, especially a few of those goals, were easily preventable without mistakes. I still put J-Mac, but more, I don't think we have anyone better than him at the moment.
Yeah, I think McCarthy is our guy for the season. Mikovic had his chance and he threw it away. I think he'll have another chance to come Leagues Cup, kind of like last season. but I think J-Max are started for the rest of the season.
Yeah. But like we talked about earlier, when it comes to playing younger guys, I could almost see the flip side of this, where it's like, shoot, if you're doing this bad, might as well just give Novak one last run to either build up his value or know for sure that he's not the guy. Because the Galaxy benched him after like what, 4 games in the regular season, which I know, like you guys talked about, he didn't perform better than John McCarthy, but if we're gonna advocate for guys like Nascimento to start, Lucas Sanabria, and just say like, hey, we have 0 wins in 12 games. Something has to shake at this point. I'm okay with Novak Mitrovic starting. And in fact, the fact we carry 3 goalkeepers right now on the match day roster suggests that maybe he rotates tomorrow at least. So I could definitely see that, and then spare John McCarthy for the El Trafico. But yeah, in an El Trafico, you for sure want your more experienced veteran guy.
Why not JT Marcinkowski at this point? Like, why not throw him in there, see if he has any momentum there? I would love for us to trade for one of Portland's goalkeepers right now, because they have a battle up there between Pantemis and Crepo. I don't think we have the means to pull it off, but that would be the most ideal summer scenario for me. Get one of those 2 guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I don't think this keeper crisis in a sense. I don't think it really is a crisis. I think J-Max our starter. I mean, if we do go out for a keeper, that means we have 4 keepers on a roster. So I don't know how realistic that is, but I do like Pantemis. He's been popping off. I don't want Crepo though.
Yeah, for obvious reasons. But yeah, I mean, they've had a battle up there, up north, and both of them deserve to be starters. So I see one of them being moved at some point, and we're probably the team most desperate for a keeper, one of them in the league. So might as well go for it.
Yeah.
And that's a real keeper crisis there, not our situation.
Yeah. The fact that we carry 4 goalkeepers on the roster is also an interesting thing that would probably suggest that one of them is getting moved very shortly in the summer. You look at ways the Galaxy could make up some cap space. Obviously, if you find a partner for Diego Fagundes, you pull the trigger, absolutely. What his value is at? Probably not much right now. I think Cuevas is probably a young asset that could have some interleague trade value. And with Harbor Miller's rise, I know they're playing Cuevas as more like a right winger right now, but with the rise of with the rise of Harbor Miller, you could see maybe Cuevas get moved. What his value is at, I'm not too sure, but one of the goalkeepers for sure, maybe Novak Mitrovic. You just pull the trigger, sell him. John McCarthy's been a backup. I don't think you'd mind if we brought in a proper goalkeeper. I'd definitely prefer Pantemis. I was looking at his age. 28's not that old for a goalkeeper. That's like just about hitting his prime. So I think he's a good goalkeeper. I would absolutely take him on the Galaxy, but I guess that's to be determined. We got another question in the chat. Let me see. Where do you guys think right now, look into your crystal ball, where do you guys think the Galaxy end the season? And what do you think's the % chance we make the playoffs? Eli, you're muted.
There we go. I think we're winning a trophy, and that trophy will be a wooden spoon. It's so hard for me to imagine any sort of way we do anything this year. And we talk about, this could be the worst season in Galaxy history. I'm scared we're going to be, worst season in MLS history, some of the worst seasons in like football history at this point. I know that I'm very much a Debbie Downer there, but it's very hard to see right now any sort of way we pull anything together, even though there have been times where we've had really good matches against clubs or very good spurts of brilliance. I think of that Portland match a couple weeks ago where we scored those 2 quick goals. Like, where's that team? How can we find that urgency again? And that was like a one-time thing this year. And then we take ourselves out of the match, which I think is the biggest problem with the Galaxy this year, is how we take ourselves out of matches. We make the mistakes, the own goals, terrible passes out of the back. That's what I think has been the downfall of this team, above injuries and anything else. And we have not shown improvement in that. And that's what scares me.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this team hasn't performed to the standards that they've set in previous seasons. But I do think this team has talent. I think it's just find that talent, find that rhythm that we kind of had the last season. And we've seen it. There's times where this team shows that we're the better team, but it's just consistently doing that for 90 minutes. Vanny talks about this all the time. He doesn't think we've been outplayed. This is before New York Red Bulls because that was clearly outplayed. But apart from New York Red Bulls, I mean, we haven't been played off the field in any game. KC, they have no shots on target. We realistically should be winning that game. Portland, I mean, they had some great goals, but we almost came back there and we were down 3-0. So that shows the heart that the team does have. We should get out more often and more consistently.
Yeah.
I think we'll be good.
Yeah.
But not playoff good. I think playoffs is off the table.
I don't think we'd bench either Yoshida or Garces, but
I have a question actually.
Go ahead.
About Yoshida. Because I've noticed a bit more and more. I've been more frustrated with Yoshida. I'm not just talking about the own goal because that's an obvious one, but at what point do we strip him of the captain's armband? Because I think that's the first thing that might be stripped or fired of anything, because I'm not really seeing the leadership out of Yoshida this year that we've gotten accustomed to.
Really good question. I've been frustrated with Maya Yoshida ever since he came into the preseason, honestly. And I know taking a pay cut at your job is not something that anyone wants to do. But the attitude that he came in with was really negative from the start. And that was surprising to see out of the captain that just lifted the MLS Cup, representing the badge. You haven't seen it this year. And you're right. He's not somebody that, has really picked this team up at any point. I think I don't necessarily like the guy, but I feel like John McCarthy's been more of a leader in some ways. I know when Maya Yoshida was out, you saw Fagundes get the captain's armband, and I don't know. I'm not too high on Fagundes being captain. Not just him as a player. I guess I don't see him as a guy that's really motivating anyone. But John McCarthy, immediately after the own goal, he got up immediately. He's like, come on, get up. We got this. Like, don't worry about it. Let's fight back and let's win this game. That's someone that can pick people up. And I think you're absolutely right. Maya Yoshida, ever since the preseasons, came in with a different energy. And not only that, you complain about taking a pay cut and you're playing like you don't deserve to be on the team whatsoever. Like, it's not necessarily like his play has backed anything up, and that might be controversial. And I love what he contributed last year, but I'm not too high on what Maya Yoshida's done this year. And you can nitpick the own goal, but I think as a captain, he's really failed to do his job and pick this team up. But Galaxy runs LA.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of players haven't been cutting their own weight, and Yoshida's one of them. And he's one of the players that you expect to have that consistent level of play. He's played in Europe. He's been everywhere. He's playing World Cups. You want to have a player we can look over your shoulder and say, hey, this guy's going to do his work, and I need to go and do my work so we can be successful. But having a captain that isn't pulling their own weight, it's tough. And I don't think we strip him of the captain's armband just because that can make the situation worse. I think that makes it even more obvious that maybe Vane's just in the dressing room or something. But I don't think you strip him of the captain's armband, but I do agree that Yoshida hasn't been doing good, and we need him to be good because when he's good, he brings the rest of the team good, and he hires the level of the players around him, and that's something we need from our good players. Right now, they just haven't been doing it.
Yeah, I don't think he's been Zenka bad, but he's been pretty bad. I mean, I don't think any of our center backs have lived up to any bill this year. We expected a lot of growth from Garces this year. He's kind of slit. I mean, I can't say slit back because he was never this bad for us, but he's kind of fallen off a little bit. I have not been proud of any of our center backs whatsoever. I'd love to see something change there. But one player that I want to mention as a potential, captain, and I know this is going to transition hopefully into one of the next topics, is, the one player that I feel like has really showed face for the club when they're down. And I think he's the only veteran that truly gets what it means to play for the Galaxy. I think Christian Ramirez is someone to look at as well, not just John McCarthy. I think he's kind of been that guy for us. And I know you have a clip to show us of Ramirez, Peyton.
Christian Ramirez. The only clip I actually have is this one. I do have a photo of Christian Ramirez starting his press conference with an apology to the fans. This is something Christian Ramirez follows me. So like I did let him know after this. I was like, thank you. This is something fans appreciate. And it is true. Christian Ramirez, think of how many times when things have gotten bad, nobody stepped up to plate. Nobody stepped up to the press conferences. Nobody's wanted to answer for the Galaxy struggles. But Christian Ramirez pops up, and obviously there was a good amount of Galaxy supporters here. There was a good amount of people that came, paid good money, even made the trip from LA to see the Galaxy play. You saw some banter between the Galaxy and the Red Bulls fans, with them saying still no trophies. But it is true. I mean, I'm surprised the Galaxy don't give a refund for this, to be completely honest, to the visiting fans. But Christian Ramirez, Galaxy runs LA. Do you see him as a potential guy that could take the armband after just coming in?
I mean, this is a step in the right direction if you want to take that armband, because usually Yoshida is the one that goes into the press conferences after losses and he speaks with the guys over at Corner of the Galaxy and the other podcasts and stuff. So I think him going into like the press conference and starting off by saying something like this is something that we need from our captains. I think Yoshida should be doing this. I don't think Christian Ramirez should. And that shows how much Christian Ramirez knows like what it means to play for the badge. He grew up a Galaxy fan and he's showing it. So I think he's a real fan favorite and he's making a point to prove maybe he should be captain, and I agree.
I definitely see the case for that. When Maya Yoshida came in, almost immediately he became captain of the Galaxy. So I don't necessarily think it's a issue of not being on the team long enough. Once again, like Galaxy Runs LA said, I think it's a bit difficult to strip someone of captaincy, especially a guy like Maya Yoshida. It just might be the dagger. That's a guy who's going to be returning next year. Right now, he's under contract, so that one's not looking good either. Hopefully, we can wiggle out of that one. But I mean, it's difficult to see the Galaxy lose and people not step up and talk to the media. But Christian Ramirez does that. He's definitely one of the people, even if he doesn't become captain, who steps up and is like picks people up in the locker room. I feel like. You look at a season where Gabriel Peck and Joseph Paintsil, your two designated players, combined for, I think, 2 goals and assists. Unreal numbers. And Ramirez has 4 goals. So he's carried his weight. Obviously, he's not Dejan Joveljic level of a player, but that's not what you're expecting out of him. He's doing his job. He's serviceable. And in fact, something crazy that blows my mind every time I see it is when people say that Ramirez is bad. I don't get that. I don't know. What do you guys think of Christian Ramirez as a player and how he's done so far?
I mean, just because he misses a couple of chances, like he had one in this Red Bull game. I remember a beautiful through ball from Royce. He whiffed the shot. He might have been offside, but he whiffed the shot. Things like that. I mean, you can't expect him to score every single chance. Strikers just don't do that generally. And like you said, he does have the most numbers on this team. And I know that's not impressive at all, but at least he is giving us something when no one else is. So it's hard. I don't like, critiquing him of all players on this team when we he has the most numbers, but also, like we said, he's the one who shows face. He's the one who shows up. And also his reactions when he misses, you feel the frustration, which I almost think is a better thing than, someone who looks like they've given up. Because I don't think you could say Christian Ramirez has truly given up in a match yet.
Yeah. I mean, Ramirez has that passion that you want to see from the players. And I think that's something that the fans see, and they see like, oh, Ramirez is playing his hardest no matter what. He's going into press conferences, but no one else is doing them. He's there for the team, and I think that shows. And I think he's earned that starting spot. I mean, Nascimento, people thought he was going to be a starting striker coming into the season. They're like, oh, this highly touted kid from Brazil, he's going to be our starting striker for the season. And Ramirez, our known quantity in the MLS, comes in and he makes it known. I'm a goal scorer. And I think if we get Peck and Paintsil going, I mean, Christian Ramirez could be in the goal and boot race. I mean, he's got 4 goals. I think first place has 7 or 8. So he's not far off. And if we get our wingers going, it's a high chance he can get a golden boot, at least be in the contention.
sorry to interrupt you, but I think if we had a fully healthy squad with Ricky there, he's pushing the Golden Boot race currently, and that's just how I feel about that. And players like Ramirez, and then I'll even say Royce. And I know we were hard on Royce, but those guys are signed not to be the 90-minute plus players that they've had to become for the Galaxy. Royce was supposed to be a luxury piece who would have been great 30 minutes off the bench. And I thought even in like the Red Bulls match, he was great or decent for 30 minutes. And then he, lagged off. So, Ramirez is a role player that does his role at an elite level. And I just can't say anything negative about Christian Ramirez. I think all the negativity has to be pushed onto other people.
Yeah, no, I mean, certainly Christian Ramirez has been, in my opinion, one of the few bright spots this year for the Galaxy. I mean, as much as we can just talk negative about how this team's been doing, we can go on for days. You could hear it all on Twitter. You could hear it all on Instagram. It's all there on social media. But it's also important to highlight some of the people who have been doing good, which is not a lot. I'll definitely say it's not a lot, but Christian Ramirez, in my mind, is one of these people. Just an opinion. I feel like the Galaxy really have missed when I was a bit skeptical of the Nascimento signing when it happened, just for the fact that he had no goal scoring pedigree before coming to the Galaxy. And that made me a bit concerned. That's why I thought he was going to play winger at a point. I was like, okay, well, when, one of our wingers is injured, like a Joseph Paintil, you could have Nascimento slot into that spot. And he hasn't played winger. He looks like a natural striker, but not somebody who's putting up numbers. And when you look at his best season for Botafogo, I think he had 2 goals, which is not impressive when you consider that Dejan Joveljic in the Austrian league, the A-League, had, I believe, 17 before coming to the Galaxy. So he, not an MLS level league, but he had goal-scoring pedigree. He's been there. He's done that. And you didn't see the same with Nascimento. So that made me a bit skeptical from the start, because I'm like, I get it. He's from a big club. He played for the Brazil national youth national teams, but I don't really see the hype. And Christian Ramirez, give him all credit, he's won that starting spot. But the question I have for you guys is, who else do you think has been a bright spot on this Galaxy team that you can pinpoint a name and be like, yeah, this guy's been consistently good throughout the season?
I gotta go Isaiah Parente. I mean, he stepped into the boots that Schnabel is supposed to fill, that Mark Tagawa left, and he's proven that he can play at this level. I remember watching him at the VCSC games, and I was like, okay, this kid can play, and he's shown it. I mean, I think he had like 3 assists in CONCACAF Champions Cup, or maybe it's 2, but he has goal contributions. He's got more goal contributions than Peck right now, and that's saying something as your 8 and your winger is getting less goal contributions. So I think Isaiah Parente is showing that character that he should be in the squad in the coming years. He should be a part of the long-term project because he's doing well.
That's a good shout, Eli.
I don't know if I have anyone, and I'm struggling with that. I've liked the little spurts of Harbor Miller, but I don't think he's done well for a full 90 quite yet, at least in MLS play. CONCACAF, that was a whole different thing. Man, that's tough because everyone. I hate to do this because like Royce is one of my favorite players of all time. For his Dortmund years, not here, but I have seen spurts from him where I'm like, hey, he's here. This is great from him. I saw that in that little run that we had against Portland, a little bit in that SKC match as well. When I feel like the Galaxy are gaining momentum in matches for little stints, I feel like a lot of it is because of him. But the problem is those are only for short little stints throughout a 90-minute match, and he can't go a full 90. And that's just been the struggle. And I want to, say good things about John Nelson and, Cerrillo, but, the midfield has been very abysmal this year. Matches are won in the midfield, which is why it's so frustrating hearing the news about, we chose Fagundes over Delgado, because we at least would have had some sort of stability there. But no, it's really hard for me to find any positives about other players aside from Christian Ramirez.
Yeah, no, I agree. The only other name, and I want to preface this by saying I know he scored an own goal last game, but I think Miki Amane has also been pretty consistent, not maybe at the level he was last year, but I mean, everyone's taken a step down. Everyone's taken a step down, and I think that he's been decently good at what he provides going forward. And when we were missing him, we were really struggling. I know he hasn't played a lot of games, but I've liked what I've seen from Miki Amane. There's a lot of people on that back line who you can fault, but I feel like he's not consistently one of them. And sad that that's the bar we have to set, but it is the way that it is, and I can't really think of anyone. But Parente's a guy on a good salary too, so I like that shout. He's definitely a piece they can keep or even trade because I'm sure he's built his value to a decent level and he might deserve to start somewhere else. But let's transition here into injury news. For the second consecutive match, the Galaxy will be without 3 designated players. So Joseph Paintsil still out with the thigh injury, Gabriel Peck out with his hip injury, and then obviously Ricky with the ACL. I did see footage of them training. I did see footage of these players training with the Galaxy. Well, obviously not Ricky, but both of them, both the other ones. So maybe that puts them in good status for El Trafico, but this certainly isn't good news. I thought one of them would have played, but what do you guys make of this?
Holy Father, give me bread and butter. Goddamn. This is tough. This is tough. And you can't expect to do anything without your 3 designated players, especially when they're designated players that theoretically deliver at a high level, as we saw last year. I have no hope for tomorrow night. Maybe that means we're gonna destroy them. Who knows? But I mean, this is just tough. And then is Zenko still out for personal reasons? What is that? Was he out for personal reasons?
I never heard he was out for personal reasons.
I thought he was just on the bench and not coming in because he sucks.
Me too.
But also, I just want to answer. Juan in the chat said Delgado doesn't create, but for me, it's more about he's a connective piece in the midfield. He gets the ball from the back line to a Royce. He covers the ground that Royce can't cover. That's a player that I think we're missing right now in the midfield when we have a liability defensively in Royce.
Yeah. 100%. Galaxy runs LA.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the stat that kind of put out for the Red Bull game where Galaxy have not won a game where none of their DPs have started or played or even been in the match squad, and now it makes it 0-2. And I very highly believe it's going to be 0-3 because we had no creativity going forward in the Red Bull game, and I think it'll carry over to this game. While I don't think we'll concede as much, I don't think we'll win.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to concede more than 7, but hey, the Galaxy can surprise you sometimes for sure. It's bad news on bad news. But let's transition now into the LA Galaxy versus Philadelphia Union. We will have a live watch along for this match tomorrow. I will be here. Galaxy runs LA. Will you be here?
No, I got work, sadly.
And then Eli, you're free to join us if you want. But
we'll see. I'll be watching, but I don't know how locked in I'll be.
Yeah,
because I'm a little pessimistic about it. I watch every match. I watch every match live, but I don't know if I could be dialed in for 90 minutes right now.
Yeah, I mean, I know for sure Sean will be on. So I know people are talking about Sean being held captive right now. He's at the Ventura County game. Don't worry about him. He's fine. He is rising right now. So he's doing just fine. But let's go back into this full preview. LA Galaxy will travel to Philadelphia Union to play at 4:30 p.m. Pacific time, so 7:30 East Coast time. Once again, without all 3 DPs. Other than that, I would expect the Galaxy, to be as healthy as possible without the designated players. I expect a lot of rotation in this game. I think you're gonna look at the lineup and be like, "Whoa, this is really funky." Like, I think you might see Novak Mitrovic in net. Julian, maybe you still run the John Nelson, Julian Ade thing, but I think Ade gets the nod at left back. I don't know because we don't have center back depth, so I think they're going to still ride with Yoshida and Garces. Maybe you see Mauricio Cuevas start this. Lucas Sanabria should, like you talked about, Eli. I think Nascimento, Fagundes, Royce. But in the place of Edwin Cerrillo, maybe Isaiah Parente slots in. But I low-key think it's good that Edwin Cerrillo is taking a little mileage off for this match. But without going to score predictions, what are you expecting out of this game?
Nothing good. to put it blunt. I mean, I've been pretty impressed by Philly this year and what they've been able to do under a new coach, by the way. This has been a quick turnaround for them. And I think all the momentum's in their favor right now. I made a video today on, the Sullivan brothers, and Quinn Sullivan for me is a player that's really broken out this year for them. Ty Baribo, as Adam mentioned in the chat, 8 goals this year. They're looking scary. And they're a team that's really good at breaking through back lines, which is, literally the worst thing that I could say to the Galaxy right now. So I'm expecting maybe a one-sided high scoring affair.
Galaxy.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a loss, but I ask of one thing of the players is just to show heart. If you go out and you show heart and we lose 2-0 or something, I'm like, all right, at least the team shows that they have heart and they want to play for this badge. But if they show they don't play for this badge, then I've lost all hope. I mean, we need them to be playing for the badge. That's the bare minimum playing for the Galaxy. This badge has weight, and if you don't play up to that badge, you can get out the club. And this is a game after you lose 7-0. Donovan was talking about it in his podcast. If you don't show up and play and you just get smacked around 2 games in a row, then I don't know what you're doing at this club.
Yeah. Once again, not expecting anything good out of this match. But one thing that's interesting to me is the fact we got off to the lead once all season. And I know it's a winless year, but even in a winless year through 12 games, you'd expect this team to get on the scoreboard once. The amount of times we've been shut out, I think the attack's very lethargic. We don't have much going forward. There is a lack of creativity, and I think tactically it's getting very stale. I think as much as I still advocate for Greg Vanney, the fact that we're playing like if Ricky Puig were there tactically without Ricky Puig is not a good sign. It's not a key for success. And look at how many times we've dropped the first goal within the first 20 minutes. I don't have a stat on that, but it's been I can't, like, almost every game we've just quickly like this, we're down, and all we have to do the rest of the game is trail. It's more of the same, I think. They're getting the road miles in right now. They're for sure getting the road miles in Philadelphia. Obviously a far road trip for the LA Galaxy. You might see some tired legs, but I think you're going to see a lot of rotation. I want to see guys that are hungry to win. Even if it doesn't end up there is a talent difference between these two teams, very obviously. But even if we don't end up winning, I want to see fight. I don't want to see a 7-0 loss. I don't want to see a 5-0 loss. I want to see something closer. I want the Galaxy to contend in this game and give the fans a little hope before El Trafico. If you come out here and you fold again and lose 5-0, we could put out all the statements we want. That's difficult to convince people to go when this team's just, because then you're thinking like, what, like, are we going to get blown out by LAFC again? Like, I know that happened in 2020 when we lost 6-2 to them. Obviously that was in the bubble, but you don't want it to be that kind of season. We performed well against LAFC in bad years, as Eli talked about, but I want to see fight. I want to see heart. And like Galaxy Runs LA said, play for the badge. Not only this, you're playing for your jobs now. If you're a Galaxy player and you want any career as a professional soccer player, you're going to need better than how this season's going, because that's going to be on your permanent record forever. As long as you're a soccer player, people are going to see that you performed terrible in one of the worst seasons in Major League Soccer history if it keeps trending this way. The Galaxy are trending for less than 9 points right now. Over the course of 34 games, we're trending for less than 9 points. It's going to pick up, but that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. But I don't know. Let's go into score predictions now. I think the Galaxy do lose this game. I think it is a 2-0 loss. I think there's a bit more fight in this one. I think maybe Philly gets 2 quick goals, but I think if you're out of this game, just start rotating people. Keep the minutes fresh, keep the legs fresh ahead of El Trafico, because when it comes to El Trafico, form doesn't matter. It's never mattered in that match. They've been good and we beat them. They've been bad and we've lost to them. It's like form never matters in this match. So kept off the score sheet again. I think we have nothing going forward, and without 3 designated players, I don't see that changing. Eli?
I'm gonna have to say 3-0. I think we kind of take ourselves out of the match early, and then we just kind of ride it out at the end. That's
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I don't want to copy you guys, so I'm gonna change it up. But I'm gonna say 4-0. I was originally thinking 2-0, but I don't want to. There's no chance of scoring a goal. I don't want to say the same score as you guys, but I don't think we got a goal, and I do think we concede multiple.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a possibility. Ty Baribo, as Eli talked about, is the player to watch. He's in the Golden Boot race right now. He's scored hat tricks. He's been performing at an excellent level for Philadelphia. As much as I advocate for Jim Curtin, the fact that pretty much the same roster is, I think, third place in the Eastern Conference right now, kind of like how I was advocating for Vanni Sartini to not be fired from Vancouver, and right now they're first in the Supporters Shield. So, I mean, maybe things just need to be freshened up for Philadelphia Union, but they're certainly looking dangerous this year. I don't see any way the Galaxy win this match, and I think it's going to be so tough on the confidence losing this many games in a row. It's like they talked about it in the clip that I showed on the captions of it when the players after the game were all in like a circle after the Red Bulls lost, was the fact that like when you're losing game after game after game, it's so hard to pick yourself up. You look at last year when we were winning, things were flying. It felt like we could never lose, and now it feels like we can never win. But yeah, do you guys see a universe where we even get a point out of this game? If so, how?
I think there is a universe, but there's only one universe, and that is if this team somehow turns everything around and shows some heart. I don't think we get 3 points, but I think there is a chance we can get 1 point out of this.
Yeah, I mean, it's in this universe, but not in this galaxy.
There you go. Clip that. Galaxy have not lost to Philadelphia since 2012, according to Drew in the chat. I'm not sure if that stat's valid. I'll take your word on it. If that's true, then that's great. But this season, we've broken every single streak we've had. We broke the home streak. We broke the worst record in league history. So I feel like all of these stats don't even matter to me anymore. It's been heartbreaking. By the way, the fact we've lost so many games at home it's been difficult to watch. Like what happened to our Fortress, and it's not a lack of fan support, in my opinion. Like if the attendance were at like 12K, obviously it's not selling out every game. That's never going to happen. But the supporters section's loud. The supporters section's loud every game. It's not a lack of support. It's just, it's sad to watch our home go from undefeated at home to you can't win at home. It's like, what's happened here? But yeah, any last words on the Philadelphia match? We will once again have a live watch along. I will be on that as well as Sean. But anything else?
No, but I just like to bring up every now and then that I feel like the Galaxy and Philadelphia Union supporters, we have a bit of an alliance over our hatred over LAFC. So, if we have to lose to someone, they're one of the teams I'd be more okay with than, who we have coming up. But, I'm not saying I'm okay losing to anyone, but I love this photo of like Cosmo and their mascot shaking hands. I think about that one a lot. So shout out to the people in Philly. Enjoy your 3 points.
Yeah, you're a lot of dupes. Galaxy wins LA.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be many takeaways from this match. I just hope that the team shows heart and we get something to take into the El Trafico game.
It's so hard to. Oh, go ahead.
Actually, I do think there can possibly be takeaways if the squad is rotated and someone new shows any sort of potential and flashes of good in this match. I think that's the only takeaway we could take, but that's a theoretical, a hypothetical situation.
I could see that. I could definitely see that happening. I mean, you look at matches we've lost where Harbor Miller, maybe not a good full 90 performance, but he showed flashes of what he can be, a bit of Julian Araujo vibes from him. I know that's the easy, lazy comparison, but it's true. Like baby Julian Araujo vibes. Isaiah Parente, as we talked about, it's been a star that nobody really expected to break out this year. You look at the depth chart and you're like, oh, I guess Parente's there before the year, but now you're like, okay, this guy's decent. He's low-key a baller. But I could see that happen with someone like Nascimento maybe finally gets his big break. I'd love to see that, or even Lucas Sanabria steps up. But it's hard to have takeaways of a match when this team has just played so bad this far. It's hard to, it's hard to have takeaways from anything that's happened this year. It just all sucks, but that goes without saying. The big preview here, El Trafico, the Galaxy will host Chivas USA on Sunday, May 18th at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time at Dignity Health Sports Park. LAFC aren't up to par from what they've been doing the past couple of years. Once again, I'll go on the record to say this: worst Western Conference I've seen in history. Vancouver Whitecaps are the only real team that stands out as a legitimate contender. Maybe Minnesota's came around, but worst Western Conference I've seen. So anybody can really make a jump up. But in that worst Western Conference, LAFC are 6. They're not doing great. They have 1 win on the road all year. I know it's just a quick trip. For them. But if we show out for this game, it's still going to be like a home game for us. So obviously Galaxy last in the West without a win. I've seen a lot of people predict that this will be our first win of the year. So what do you expect to see out of this game, once again, without going into score predictions yet?
Yeah, well, one thing I will say, it's very funny how I feel most people who think the Galaxy will get their first win happen to be LAFC fans. And that kind of just shows you how they think about their team right now. But no, I just really need this to be the match that the team gives it their all. Like, they need to do that every week, but this is the one where it's inexcusable. And I think that's when, I think, decisions really need to be made. If we get wiped off the floor tomorrow and then get wiped off the floor in El Trafico, that's when I think you really open the conversations about stripping Yoshida of the ban, maybe even firing Vanny, which none of us see happening. But that's this is the match where it really, really matters in a season that's not going to end up mattering. This is the one where you have to really find a way to make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, this is what players live for, these big moments, the rivalry games. If you can't show up in the big games, then I don't think you should be playing for LA Galaxy, because every game's a big game for the Galaxy. But this game right here is even bigger than everything. If you play for the Galaxy, you're playing for something bigger than you. And this is one of the moments where you can prove to be a legend. We've seen players like Gabriel Peck score goals. We've seen players like Zlatan score goals. This is where people become legends. And I think if that doesn't give you the motivation to step up and do good, then I don't think you're in the right team.
This is the fixture that made Ethan Zubak a Galaxy legend. So I think anything can happen in these games. If you look at form and you talk about form, throw it out the window. It's never mattered. It won't matter in this game. This is not a great Galaxy team, that goes without saying, but there's players who I think can show up for these matches. And if they understand what it means to play for the Galaxy, I mean, a lot of these players are still turned over from last year. You're without your designated players. I think they will play this match. I think the reason why you kept them out of this road trip is you prepare them to start this match. You have nothing to lose. If you're conserving Peck and Paintsil for an El Trafico match and putting them on minutes restrictions, get out of here. The only way I want to see them out of the match is if we're losing this one 6-0 at like halftime or something. I want to see them play full 90. There's no excuse. I don't care. I know they're still recovering from an injury, but they're both on the practice field. It's an El Trafico. They need to show up for it. Interestingly enough, Joseph Paintsil has not been a man that's shown up against LAFC, and I thought he was going to be the next LAFC killer. I want to see more out of him. I know Galaxy Runs LA talked about Gabriel Peck. I don't think in particular he's had crazy games against LAFC. I know he had a consolation at the Rose Bowl. Marco Royce stepped up in that 4-2 comeback. Marco Royce stepped up. He needs to step up to play it again. Edwin Cerrillo, you're not going to play tomorrow. You get to stay in LA. You get to be cozy in LA at your home and watch the Galaxy get smacked to Philadelphia tomorrow. That's fine. It's taking mileage off of you. I want to see fresh legs for this match, and it might be hard to match that banger he had, but I think it's something where like Galaxy Runs LA talks about, you play for the badge. And if you know what it means to wear this crest, you need to show up for these matches that are circled on the calendar from the very moment that's the schedule release gets dropped. And if you don't, get off my team. I don't care who you are. If you're not showing up for the badge, if you do not care about an El Trafico, and these players don't step up and don't fight, don't understand what it means to play for the Galaxy, then anybody, in my mind, if you're not going to step up and play for the 6-time MLS Cup champions, you can be on the chopping block. And I hope to God we don't get rolled over, because that would be very embarrassing. But yeah, like you talked about, Eli, LAFC fans think they're going to lose this game too. So neither of these teams are playing at their potential. LAFC parted ways with Steve Cherundolo. Greg Vanney might be, getting the sack. By the way, Vanney would not get sacked directly after this game. Let's be very clear. There is no way they're giving LAFC fans the leverage of sacking Greg Vanney right after this game. So even if it's a blowout, it's not going to happen. They'll wait after probably like San Diego or San Jose to pull the trigger on that. But score predictions. I think the Galaxy get their first win of the 2025 campaign here. Score being, I'm going to say this is going to be a 2-1 El Trafico. My goal scorers, I think, this is so difficult because when it comes to El Trafico goal scorers, literally anyone can get on the score sheet. You saw Julian Ade get on the score sheet last year. You saw, I'm gonna go Miki Amane. I think Miki Amane gets a goal, and I think the other is Christian Ramirez against his former club. I'd love to see Jessup Painter or Gabriel Peck, but I don't think they've really taken it to another level in these games yet, and I'm hoping they hit that, but I don't see it happening. Eli?
I usually don't like to predict matches like this, but my gut is telling me, and this is gonna sound really awful, and everyone's gonna hate me for this. I think we're gonna get a gut-wrenching draw, where I see the image came in my mind. LAFC scores first, some BS goal. Royce scores a free kick, which we have yet to see him do, which I'm just dying for. I'm dying to see a vintage Royce free kick. Christian Ramirez is going to score to make it 2-1. And it's going to be a big moment, like you mentioned, scoring against his former club. And then, unfortunately, the way the season has gone for the Galaxy is we take ourselves out of matches. We lose points for ourselves. I see it in the stars, and I'm scared that we're going to get another stupid BS Denny Bouanga flop. That's going to be a penalty. And that's where I see the 2-2. And I really hope that doesn't happen. And I know I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for that. But if it does happen, I'm sorry that I put that out into the universe. But I'm terrified. But that's how I see this going. And it's going to be like, another epic El Trafico in the headline and everything. But that's how I see it going. And I'm not happy about it. But
Galaxy Runs LA.
Yeah, so I was going to say 2-1 as well, but I don't want to copy you. So I'm going to... Obviously, El Trafico's, there's always goals. While I think both teams are not doing great, I think this is going to be I'm thinking 3-2, but I also think there's not going to be that many goals. So I think I'm going to go 1-0 Galaxy. It's going to go off the script of a ton of goals in El Trafico, and I think that we get the win. I think this is our first win of the season, and I'm excited for the game.
Yeah. Once again, please show up to this match if you can. If you have season tickets, please do not. And if you're going to sell a ticket to this match, do not sell to LAFC fans. This needs to be a Galaxy home game. If there's any point the Galaxy turn around the season and make a miracle Hollywood comeback, it starts with this game. Do I think it's realistic? No. But I mean, you're going to need it. I think Eli's right. I think LAFC get on the scoreboard first. I think Denny Bouanga probably flops as well. You know what really annoys me? And I haven't went on this rant before, but we're playing in El Trafico, so it's in the mood. I feel like Denny Bouanga, I'll give him credit. He's mastered the art, because if you give him too much space, he's a good enough player where he's going to bury it in the back of the net, and there's nothing you can do about it. He's an incredible player, to the point where, if you're giving him space, but if you close him down, he's gonna flop at any contact, and he will get the call. He will get the call. That's something I just wanted to say for so long, is like, he's mastered the art, because if you're a defender, what do? You back off, you give him space. It's 1-0 LAFC. He's gonna score. He's good enough. I'm not saying he's a bad player. He's good enough to do that. But if you play on him tightly, which is, what you need to do, you're risking the chance of making any contact, and he's going to flop, and it's going to be a penalty or a key set piece that LAFC might bury in the back of the net. The Mark Delgado reunion is another interesting one in this match. Will Mark Delgado step up and score a goal? I would hate to see it, but what role do you think Mark Delgado is going to play here?
I mean, I think he will have the role. And first of all, I just want to say Bouanga to me is the James Harden of MLS. But with Delgado, I think he's going to be on one. I think this is the match. He's going to say, hey, you chose Fagundes over me. Let me show you what you're missing out. And he's probably the player I'm most scared of on LAFC heading into this one, because I think he believes he has something to prove against us now. And it's scary. That's all I can say. It's scary.
Yeah.
I mean, these games they're won in the midfield. The midfield's gonna be scrappy, and Mark Delgado, he's got a history of playing good in these tight games, these rivalry games. So I think if LAFC is gonna do good, it's gonna be through him, and he's gonna be a big part. And he's got all the criticism against him to do it. He's got all the chips against him. He's got that chip on his shoulder. So I think if he does good, we could be in for a rough night.
Yeah, he's one of the keys to LAFC season. Another player that's kind of broken out for them is Nate Ordaz. He's been phenomenal for LAFC. I don't think anyone really expected him to be a starter. David Martinez, I don't like LAFC. Obviously, we all hate them. He's good. David Martinez, I was like that guy's good. The pet comparisons when they first signed was ridiculous, though. I was on Twitter at the time, and people were like, oh, David Martinez scored in this Colombia youth match, and Peck didn't. He's going to be better. But he's good. But the fact that Nate Ordaz is starting over him proves that he's been really, really good for LAFC. Hugo Lloris is a statue at this point in his career. I'm not too worried about him. Ryan Hollingshead's a guy who could always get forward for for LAFC. He's one of the better attacking fullbacks in MLS. He's able to, rip shots and fire away. But the Galaxy need to want this match. I know it just goes back to the most simple saying anybody can say: who wants it more? Who wants this match more? Will ultimately determine who wins it. But this is gonna be. I'm so hyped for this match. I'm gonna get there so early. I'm gonna be in ACB 121 gang. And I'm there's a large group of people that I know going to this match. So it seems like, from what I can tell, that Galaxy fans will be showing up regardless of the team's form, which I love. I mean, like you guys talked about, it's loyalty over trends, and that also is the fact that you got to show up. We protested one time, that made sense, but you can't protest every time things aren't going your way. And even if we drop a stinker against Philadelphia, I just encourage anyone to show up to this match. But anything else on this El Trafico? All right. Yeah. Galaxy once again will host LAFC May 18th at Dignity Health Sports Park. Kickoff will this is Sunday Night Soccer, everyone's favorite, right? We performed so good on Sunday Night Soccer. So I think the kickoff's going to be like 6:20, I believe. I think these games kick off a little later, maybe 6:25. Sunday Night Soccer, the prime time games of MLS. I always thought they should do Friday Night Soccer. It's perfect. I don't know. Anyway, that's a different topic completely. All right. If you're here right now and you made it here, remember we will have a watch along of the LA Galaxy versus Philadelphia Union. Like and subscribe. Turn on bell notifications so you don't miss another Galaxy Talkin Galaxy podcast. And Galaxy Runs LA, where can they find you?
Galaxy Runs LA on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok.
Eli?
At Eli Lesser TV on every platform. I'm just going to hint at this now. It's been a very rough year for Galaxy fans, and I'm planning something pretty special I think for the May 31st match against RSL. So be on the lookout for that. But, I want to give back to the Galaxy fans through, this very difficult time. So just stay on the lookout if you'll be attending that match.
All right, you heard the man. Stay on the lookout. 6:09 kickoff, according to Jose in the chat. So be there on time. Be there early. This is something you want to be there very early for, and be loud. Wear the badge, but stay safe as well. Don't be getting into fights. Keep it respectful between the two fan bases, even though we do not like them. Make sure no fights, just no fights. You could banter them, whatnot. Stay safe. It's El Trafico season. The Galaxy looking for the first win. As for myself, I'm LA Galaxy _Buzz or John Pork LA Galaxy on TikTok. And yeah, thank you.